Okay, we got to be very quiet because someone's sleeping. Because somebody is sleeping right now.
Be very quiet.
Sarah, explain what happened while we were on break.
Oh, well, so I was just thinking, like, oh, I'm sad. There's no cats in this room with me. And then about 30 seconds later, Emily comes in and hops up on my lap, and she's like, I'd be here now. And so
So,
now she has decided to take a nap right here.
our last question of the interview was going to be show us the cats, but I think you've already got to that. Great.
Got that. Yep.
You're already halfway through that question, so good for you. Um, so if you don't mind doing a whole interview with a cat in your arms.
I think I'm good. I can do that.
Oh my God. All right. We've got Sarah on the show, and we're gonna interview her. We just played The Witcher for a little bit. Now it's time to talk to Sarah. Special shout out this week, like every week, to the Folkwise interview sleuths, who put together these questions. So, like always, Sarah, if you like a question, if it makes you laugh, or if you say that's a good question, you are also saying thank you, sleuths. So, preemptive
right.
thanks, sleuths, right off top. Are you ready to get into your interview?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, chat says there's a bunch of cool cats up in here. Yeah, one of the cats is very sleepy.
Are you cool cats and kittens?
Oh my God. That seems like so long ago. All right, Sarah. A lot of the times on the show, we like to start off an interview by asking like a big question that's specifically like, you are the folklorist who can answer this to like an everyday audience.
Okay.
How do you do the structural analysis of fairy tales?
Oh, I love it. Yay. Okay. Yes. This is my entire.
That's
Okay,
you. You can do this.
Yes. So Caitlin mentioned earlier the ATU, like her favorite ATU type is 780, the singing bone.
Oh
So like
yes.
that's kind of like folklorist jargon for something called the Arna Thompson Uter Folktale Type Index.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like compiled over the course of like 100 years or so by like three different guys. One of whom was Stith Thompson, an IU fellow, who's a bust of whom sits in the folklore library and stares at us while we take folklore seminars. It's great.
I actually have a
It's like
picture with that
under,
bust.
Oh, I have a picture
yeah,
putting
under
a party hat on that bust.
perfect. Yes. And so basically what this index does is it kind of takes a whole bunch of different variants of what is considered a particular tale type based on certain criteria. They figured out what this criteria was, what makes this story a Cinderella story or a Beauty and the Beast story, um, or a Snow White story or anything like that. And there's like something like 1,300 different types in this index, about 400 of which or 500 of which are what we recognize as folk tales or fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
The others are like jokes and riddles or legends or supernatural tales, things. And so what this index looks like is it kind of breaks down each story into parts and into motifs. So, for example, Cinderella is broken into 5 or 6 parts if you include the love like salt thing that I was talking about earlier.
Yes.
So it'll have the part that's like the heroine is abused, the heroine receives supernatural help, she goes to the ball, there's the identity test, and she marries the prince. So those are like the 5 parts that are in just about every Cinderella story. And then within that, you have kind of different ways that those plot points can play out. So in Cinderella, maybe it's a fairy godmother for the part two, the supernatural helper. Maybe it's a fairy godmother. Maybe it's her dead mother's spirit in a tree. Maybe it's a talking cow. It can be any variation of these
Mm-hmm.
things and still qualify as like this is supernatural help. This helps qualify it as a Cinderella story. So what I'm doing for my dissertation is I am looking at Cinderella, I'm looking at Beauty and the Beast, and I'm watching a whole bunch of retellings of those and seeing, okay, does it contain these 5 parts? If so, what elements of these 5 parts, like how does it express these 5 parts of the story? And also what motifs does it contain? Because Stith Thompson also did an entire motif index for folk tales. So things like pumpkin carriage is an example of a
Mhm.
motif in Cinderella. There she goes.
Mhm.
Oh, bye. It was so nice. It was so nice having you on the show. Ladders in the chat for Millie the cat, people.
Whee! um, so pumpkin carriage is an example of a Cinderella motif, or in Beauty and the Beast, like obviously enchanted husband is a motif that you'll
Mhm.
find in Beauty and the Beast. And so I'm looking at all these adaptations, seeing like, okay, so does it contain these 5 parts of the story? What's it missing? And what proportion of the narrative does this adaptation spend on this part of the story?
Yeah.
What I'm finding, based on the very small number of adaptations of Cinderella I've looked at so far, is that they spend a lot of time on the build up before the fairy godmother even arrives. It's starting to like expand proportionally, where we're getting more of that information about Cinderella's current situation and backstory more than the time that she spends with the fairy godmother at the ball or any of the other parts of the story. I don't have enough to like make any hypotheses on what that means yet, but I hope to develop those hypotheses of like, this shows that this is the more important part of the Cinderella story to a modern audience. Same thing with Beauty and the Beast. Like, what are the important parts of the Beauty and the Beast story? Like, and see how that might have changed over the past, particularly 50 years. Like, most fairy tale adaptations, like in novel and in popular culture form, like really exploded post 1970. There's some really notable ones from earlier. Post 1970 is where like a lot of like the most well-known ones come from.
Interesting. And why after 1970? Do you have any indication as to why in your research?
A big part of it was simply like the publishing industry like really began to expand
Oh, yeah.
in the 70s and 80s. So mass market publication of genre fiction was much more accessible to people.
Sure.
And so that was a huge part of it. The Disney Renaissance also helped encourage things along, and that was in the late 80s and 90s.
Yep.
So a few different things really contributed to that, mostly access to mass media was that. And like the first, what I would consider the first novel length adaptation of a fairy tale is Robin McKinley's Beauty from 1978.
Yes.
We did have Angela Carter and Anne Sexton in the 70s, but like the first novel length retelling of a fairy tale that is like mass market paperback was Robin McKinley's book. And interestingly, I did look at this one already and compared it to Andrew Lang's translation of Beauty and the Beast. It is proportionally identical.
Like structurally identical.
Yeah. She spends exactly the same amount of time on each narrative part as the Andrew Lang version does. Yeah, it's really
fascinating.
I was like, my mind was blown.
Hey, this is kind of a follow-up question, Sarah, because I assume you're not doing a Punnett square on a fairy tale, but what is textual genetics?
Okay, so textual genetics is basically this concept that all texts that are being produced are in some way inspired by or related to texts that came before, because no text is ever created in a vacuum.
Okay.
So, if you're talking about fairy tales, you're never writing a fairy tale retelling without prior knowledge of fairy tales that already exist.
Yeah.
It would be extremely difficult, if not impossible, to do that. You can write a new fairy tale, like Neil Gaiman does that a little bit, but it's never without reference to texts that come before it. And look even more explicitly at texts that are related to each other. So say all texts that fall into this ATU 510A category, that's Cinderella, and see how they're all related to each other. And it is kind of like doing a Punnett square. Like there's going to be graphs and charts, like that's what makes a good structuralist. To see like proportionally, like how do these evolve, like, and what texts create the splits. So for instance, with Beauty and the Beast, I tend to see like the big different movie versus before the Disney movie.
Can you start that sentence
like,
over, Sarah? I think we lost you
in
for
the
a
chat.
second.
I think it was. Okay, yeah, can you hear me okay now?
Yeah. Your video's
Okay,
coming through a little buffered, but we can hear you perfectly except for just now.
is a little. We're good. Okay.
Try it again.
Okay. um. So someone in the chat earlier was asking about the difference between. Someone in the chat earlier was the Disney Beauty and the Beast and this. And what I talked about was very much more mild and simply like bad at communicating in the source material. Whereas like the whole angry, like somewhat violent character from the Disney version was like not really Beauty and the Beast variants where that's true, but like it's not in the French version really. And I expect to see a big difference in how people adapt Beauty and the Beast post 1991 because they will take that version of the Beast as like kind of being the angry, curmudgeonly, like somewhat violent character and assume that that is, the accurate version of that character.
Yeah, that's how he's always been.
So like you'll kind of start to see like a split. Yeah, you'll see a split at that point in time. At least I'm expecting to see that of how the Beast is portrayed. Whereas before that, he's very much more a gentleman in like say Cocteau's French version from 1946, other things like that. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that'll play out.
Someone in chat asks if that is like Dawkins memetics, but with scientific rigor, and I want to say that's probably a really good way to put it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Any questions in chat? Yeah, send to. There we go. Email folkwise13@gmail.com. Or if you ask him here, we will ask them to Sarah by the end of the episode. Or let's keep going, if you don't mind, Sarah. We were all hella impressed with your various videos online. Caitlin wrote that sentence. What is the difference in creating videos for an academic function for a course versus popular content like you do with your TikTok? So yeah, what are like the differences when you're making those two kinds of video?
Yeah, that's actually a good question because I was doing those about the same time. So the ones that are on my YouTube channel are specifically for it's a comparative literature class, pop culture, introduction to pop culture. So I had a syllabus I was working on, and I also had like a very specific way that I was moving through the material. And I did have like a PowerPoint that I was reading off of for most of those to kind of like guide the thought and have discussion questions and things like that for people to engage with the text a little bit more. Something like a TikTok, there's not as much room for that. And those were also very much more spur of the moment. Like it was also a way for me to kind of take a break from writing my folklore qualifying exams. Was when I did a lot of those. It's like, I've been reading a lot of Dundas right now. Maybe I will make a post about Dundas, or maybe I'll make a TikTok about the ATU index, or something like that. I had an intention of like making TikToks to go along with like the videos that I was making for the course, but I didn't quite have enough energy to go around for that.
Do you see like a potential in TikTok as some sort of like non-formal short form pedagogical tool?
Oh yeah, I'd love it. Like I follow mostly like nerdy TikToks for the most part. One of the things that's been on my feed a lot, it's not specifically folklore, but there's this woman going around. She's a conspiracy theorist trying to claim that the Roman Empire.
That Rome wasn't. Oh my God, she makes me furious.
I know.
Oh my God, I saw my brother and my sister-in-law over the weekend. It's all we could talk about was just the Greek colony of Roma. Oh my God, Sarah, I'm triggered right now. I'm so I'm mad as like a classicist and just as a human.
Yeah, right. And so my TikTok was full of archaeologists historians, classicists, all of these things,
Yeah.
talking about like this conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
And so like as a folklorist, I made like one TikTok that was like, I can't figure out like what the emotional urge underneath this conspiracy theory is, because most conspiracy theorists, like, it's functioning on like a belief system, and
Yes.
most belief systems
Yes.
have like an emotional or social need they're trying to fill. And I haven't like actually looked at her original content because I don't want to make my brain explode. But from
You
what
don't
I've
want
seen of
to.
stitches
You don't
and
want
stuff
to.
like that,
You don't want
yeah,
to.
I didn't
You don't
think
want
it
to
so.
because I've already done it and it's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But
My
I am
curiosity
like,
clicked.
yeah, I was wondering, like, what is the emotional or social need that this is trying to fulfill, other than her trying to get attention? Which, that might just be it.
It
But
could be.
it does seem to be connected to like a Soviet propagandist like new chronology, which basically tried to
Mhm.
suggest that the Middle Ages never happened.
Yeah. And I
So-
also, I'm putting myself in here, but I also read like a lot of like lapsed Catholic trauma in her.
She's Jewish though, which is interesting.
Wait, she's Jewish?
Yeah,
Yep.
she's Jewish.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense. Oh, okay. So other way. It's
Yeah.
it's not being embarrassed at the Spanish Inquisition. It's being traumatized for the Spanish Inquisition. But yeah, somehow it all
Yeah.
goes back to Spain,
Yeah.
right, chat?
Mhm.
Damn. Yeah, she damn
No
near
one
made my head
expects the
explode.
Spanish Inquisition.
Oh, there it is. I
Yeah.
did not see that coming. Caitlin, do you have any other way you want to follow this this question up with Sarah?
Well, I guess like we were all kind of like really interested in like how you see your role as a teacher differently compared to like your past teaching experiences, because like the whole shift to virtual was like really jarring for some.
Oh yeah. And I had to like, that was the semester that we all shifted online right in the middle of it was the first time I was teaching my own syllabus.
Oh wow. Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah, so that was quite the leap. But that was the semester where I told you that I had students design a board game based on the juniper tree and stuff like that.
That sounds so
And
cool.
my presentation that I gave at AFS this year was talking a little bit about how students were using fairy tales to help express and deal with their emotions about the pandemic shutdown, because the project was due like immediately after everyone had gone home. We'd had that extended spring break. I had a student rewrite Beauty and the Beast, where the coronavirus was kind of an abstract version of the Beast. Like, and it wasn't a romance. It was simply a like, oh, I have to face this terrible thing. How am I going to remain positive and stay hopeful in this situation?
Mm-hmm.
And one student like designed a baby blanket because of the idea of seeking comfort and family and things like that. So, but to be more direct about the question, that has been like a really interesting question. And I have to admit, I've been deeply disappointed by the way academia at large has handled this entire 2.5 or 2 years, roughly 2 years. I feel like it has let a lot of students down in ways that it didn't have to, and teachers down as well. Like, we should be at the forefront of adapting to circumstances like this and being willing to adjust and take the lead in these sorts of circumstances. And I don't think that happened. And so I see a lot more value in kind of homebrew academics like sharing their knowledge in a less formal format.
Yeah.
So I really love these academic TikToks or YouTube channels. And the Green Brothers have been doing it for a decade now.
Oh,
like their
yeah.
crash course videos and everything like that. Like, I use those in the classroom. I think they're extremely valuable, and I really appreciate that the access problem is not as profound there. Now, where access becomes an issue is when someone doesn't necessarily have training and the critical thinking skills necessary to say, like, there's a red flag here. There's something this person is saying that doesn't seem right to me. Without that training, you can easily get to Rome did not exist a lot faster than you would otherwise think is possible.
Sure.
So like that's a huge drawback to that sort of scenario. But I know I personally and a lot of academics I know are kind of feeling more like I just want to put what I know out there, and I want to help, and I want to help teach people, even if that's not in the system that I expected to be able to do that in.
Sure. Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I want to kind of talk about your one of your videos in particular that asks like a bigger question about being like a fairy tale scholar.
Yeah.
So you have a great YouTube video that's like an upload from a lecture in one of your classes that's about Shrek.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
students these days are very familiar with Shrek, and you know, from how popular it was in like popular culture, and also like since the movies have been out in meme culture. But
Mhm.
and don't even limit this to Shrek, but how do you teach a fairy tale when so many students are more familiar with the parody?
That was so fascinating to me. It was not in the syllabus the first time I taught the class because it didn't even occur to me that that would be my students' first interaction with fairy tales. Like I'd known that Disney would be, but it hadn't occurred to me that Shrek would, and it was just a moment of like, oh wait, it's 2020. That movie's been out 20 years. Like my students are younger than this movie.
Oh my God.
That hurts. That hurts.
I know. I
Wow.
know.
Wow.
Oh.
So I didn't necessarily find a whole lot of conflict in students' understanding of the story because they only knew the parody necessarily.
Okay.
Because it announces itself as a parody, right? So you kind of know that like whatever they're parodying, that's not like the official story. So they might not know the official story, but they know that what Shrek is presenting isn't the quote unquote real thing. So I didn't necessarily find a whole lot bumping up against that. What was really interesting about Shrek is I had previously been discussing Disney and kind of the opus that Disney had created that Shrek was directly responding to. So kind of referring again to textual genetics.
Yeah,
Like
there it's back.
Shrek would not exist without the Disney machine. The Disney machine would not exist without the fairy tale texts that had come before it. So you kind of had to know a little bit about what was going on in the Disney studios and how they were responding to each other, and some of the jokes that made it very explicitly into Shrek. You can even there are even visual clues of like the way that specific fairies are designed. It's like, oh, they're directly referring to Sleeping Beauty here, or other things like that. So yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of conflict in terms of like that the students only knew the parody. Like they seemed to have other context as well. But it was really interesting to me the first semester when students like, can we talk about Shrek? And I'm like, I mean,
I
sure, we
guess.
can talk. Yeah, okay. I actually did keep track watching both Shrek and Shrek 2. All of the different parody, like fairy tale references and also pop culture references, because it mixes both.
Yeah.
Which in itself is interesting as like kind of fully merging this folk culture thing with the mass culture version of it, and kind of bringing that all together, and kind of almost making them the same, which is a really interesting kind of technique.
Yeah. Kind of a spin-off of that question, Sarah. What's the pop culture take on a fairy tale that you are just dying to see?
Ooh. It's a really good question. Oh, pop culture take on a fairy tale I'm dying to see. Because it's like I've seen so many that I'm trying to figure out which the one I haven't seen or read yet.
Can I give you like an alternate version of this question if it might be easier?
Yeah.
What's an ATU that you haven't seen enough in popular culture that you'd love to see be a movie?
That's great. Okay, so I don't think it has an ATU type. Well, no, this one does. So absolute favorite one is ATU 425A, which is East of the Sun and West of the Moon.
Hey,
version. It's a version
that
of
came
Beauty
up
and the
last week
Beast.
on the show. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's way more badass in my opinion because like the girl just quests across the Arctic to save this you know, her husband, who was a polar bear and is now a prince, is trapped by the trolls.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh.
and I've read a couple of really great novel adaptations of it. But there's one like really kind of cheap made for TV version of it called The Polar Bear King that I remember from when I was a kid.
Okay.
But that's the only like really film adaptation I've seen of it, and it's like, oh, this has so much potential. So there's
Sure.
that one's the folktale one, and then I have another answer that's more like on the literary end, and that's the Snow Queen. Because I think that's also a really cool. I have a thing for girls questing across the Arctic.
I guess. Hey, have you played Never Alone?
My
No.
and my follow-up would be like, is this because you're from the north and
I
it's
mean,
cold up in New York?
Probably, yeah. I grew up between Buffalo and Rochester, New York, in the snow belt. And in fact, I think it was 2 years before I left New York, we had what was called Snowvember. We got
Oh,
5
yeah.
feet at my parents' house in like 48 hours. We were the
Damn.
lucky ones. This South of Buffalo got 9 feet.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so I remember growing up with the snow, my dad building snow forts in our backyard and going out cross country skiing, sledding, and all of this stuff. Like, it feels very in my blood, and I have a very tough time with southern Indiana winters.
Yeah.
Like, we had one blizzard in February of this year, and I was thriving. Everyone else was like hunkered down. Even my neighbor, at the time, he actually worked maintenance in another apartment complex and decided to just stay there so that she didn't have to drive back and forth to work. So she asked me to watch her pit bull. So I was just
Aw.
like walking the pit bull in the snow.
Yeah, you were
like,
doing snow
barely-
activities. Yeah.
oh, yes, bring it on! Like knee deep in snow. I was thriving. So yes, girls questing across the Arctic. It's very near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Um,
2 games we played on the show near the end of this year were Never Alone, which is a girl questing across the Arctic, intercut with the I want to say Inupiaq indigenous people that they interviewed for like the folktale it's based on, and Crazy Plates, which is a game about delivering garbage plates in Rochester. So 2 games
Yes!
directly related to that story.
Oh my god, I visited cousins up in Rochester for Thanksgiving, and they ordered themselves garbage plates.
Hell yes.
I can't really eat garbage plates anymore. I can't eat gluten, but like, oh yes, if anyone wants to know what a garbage plate is, we'll happily explain it. But if you guys streamed that game,
we
I'm
had
sure
a whole
you know
garbage
just
plate
fine.
day. Yes. Hashtag
Yes.
Hot Girl Summer, by the way. Do you have a that was with Hannah Davis. Almost forgot her last name. Almost called her Egg Girl. That was with Hannah Davis, who was at Rochester Institute of Technology.
Okay.
Do you have a question for Sarah, Caitlin?
I do actually, partially because like we were talking about parodies of fairy tales and I guess like adaptations that break fairy tale tropes. Have you ever read the Enchanted Forest Chronicles? Because I feel like right up your alley.
Can you describe it a little bit?
So it's a 4-part book series by Patricia C. Reedy. They're written for young adults, like middle school age. And it starts off with like a princess that doesn't want to do princess things and follow like all the fairy tale tropes, like
So I know Patricia C.
Reed.
Reed. I know her work. I don't know that I've read this specific series.
It's like Princess Cimarine, and she essentially like runs away from home because like it's okay and it's acceptable in fairy tale terms to be like a dragon's princess, because then like the princes have to like rescue you, but she just sends them off all on their like merry way. And then there's dozens of other tropes and weaving, and like it is, I think I'm gonna send you a link after this.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, I know Patricia C. Reed's work. One of her books is on my list for sure.
Talk about it in the.
She's also written.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say talk about it in the
Mhm.
DMs with Foxy Folklorist because she popped in a chat to say how much she loved the
Mhm.
Enchanted
Oh,
Forest Chronicles.
hi Gina.
It's literally one of my favorite. It's like one of my favorite book series from like growing up. I bought them as an adult. It was like one of the first things I did when I was like new to grad school and had my first full time job. And I was like, yeah, I'm making that full time job money, which really wasn't that much. But I started buying all the books that I didn't own as a kid that I would have loved to have owned. And that was one of them.
Aw, I love that story, Caitlin.
I was very much a Gail Carson Levine girl growing up. Like
Yes.
Ella Enchanted
Mhm.
and the Two Princesses of Bamar. Yeah.
I love the Two Princesses of Bamar. And it's good as an audiobook.
Ooh, I bet. I think Reese, the wizard in that book, was like my childhood crush, like my first like fictional crush.
Mhm.
Aw.
And then-
Sarah, you ready to get in some funsy questions, as we like to call them?
Yes.
All right. So we've heard from various sources that you're also a creative writer.
Yes.
Pitch us the story you most want to write.
So there's the one I'm working on and have been working on for like 12 years. I could talk about that one or
That-
just another random idea that I have.
Do both.
Okay. So the one I'm working on is a retelling of Snow White and also Snow White and Rose Red. So it's a dual timeline perspective where
Ooh, I love it already.
yeah. So Snow White and Rose Red are the mother characters, and then
Mhm.
Snow White from Snow White and the Seven Dwarves is the daughter in kind of like the secondary plot line. It's really more the
Okay.
oh, I'm gonna get in the weeds there a little bit. I'm not gonna do that.
Mhm.
But I that was the one that I started working on when I was 16, where I asked myself, like, why does the evil queen really want to kill Snow White? I didn't think jealousy was a good enough reason, so I invented another character named Pomona, who is the evil queen's like natural daughter.
Okay.
And she
Okay, I'm with it.
basically she's cursed with a deadly touch, so she basically functions as the poison apple in the story.
Mhm.
Oh shit, yeah. That's good.
Oh, there goes my ring light.
Oh.
There
It's fine, we're
goes
good.
my ring light.
So there's that one. It's gone through many iterations, still editing it. I think I finally found the right version of the story to tell, and now I've just gotta like dust it up into shape.
Hell yeah.
Mhm.
And it's like the first in a series where like I weave a whole bunch of fairy tales together.
That's
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah. And so like and then like another random idea I have that's like folklore related but not specifically fairy tale is a vampire hunter story. But more like a vampire tamer one. There's a video, I don't know if either of you have seen it. You know Lindsay Sterling,
Yes.
who's like the dancing violin player,
Oh yes.
had a video
Mhm.
that she did a few years ago with the Three Tenors.
Oh, wow.
Who wants to live forever, I think is the song.
My queen?
Yeah, that's the
Oh.
one. And so they sing that song and she's playing and they're kind of like, lurking in these palaces singing this like, somber song, and she's like dancing almost like a pixie in the woods, like
Oh,
playing
she's
this violin.
very pixie-like.
And it gave me this idea of like a girl who tames vampires with her violin.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But like the story would be that like she's somewhat immortal and she like is able to like trap vampires by like making them like pine after her, and she just like goes off, and so they're just alone pining in their castles
Mhm.
for this person they're never going to have. And then I think the plot of the story, at least as it exists in my head right now, is that the main character of the book breaks the violin
Mm-hmm.
and sets the vampires free, and like completely accidentally, and so then they have to figure out a way to
Mhm.
return the vampires, and that's about as much development as that idea has gotten in my head.
I like it. I like it.
I love that one.
Yeah.
But that's partially because I got a thing about violins because of ATU 780.
Mhm.
I openly admit, obsessed with it.
That's me in Snow White. I actually have a tattoo. You can only see the dark part. The rest is in white ink.
Oh,
It says
wow.
white as snow.
Oh, I can see the
Mhm.
like the
It's a little bit better.
I can't read it, but I can see there's white ink on your arm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then there's like
I can
the
see snow.
semicolon
I
is
can
the
see
eye.
snow.
Oh,
Yeah.
Millie just turned on my other lamp.
Oh, thank you, Millie. How helpful.
We're
Folks, don't we
Watch
love
right now,
Millie?
baby.
Don't we love Millie?
Millie's amazing.
Come here. She's trying to be my wingman. Actually, she just wants to play fetch.
Oh, hello again, Millie.
There
Oh,
she is.
this is your fetch cat. I watched a TikTok on this. I
Yep,
followed you,
yep.
and it was like I did like a couple swipes on TikTok, and it was like, there you were with Millie playing fetch.
Yeah, she has her llama. She just dropped her llama on my desk. And no, we're not playing fetch right now, baby. Maybe later.
Aww. Hey,
Isn't it hard not to give this cat everything that she wants in the world?
it's very true. Where's Milo? Is he around?
Milo's he's sleeping downstairs on the couch.
Okay. Do not disturb.
He's-
But Millie's here to say hi.
Yeah. Just like picture. Okay, she's going. Okay. It's her, but twice as big and with a white stripe on his face.
Oh, okay. Hey,
They both have like.
oh, go for it, Caitlin.
Oh, I was about to say like that's really interesting that even as siblings they both have the little white marks on their face.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. His like is kind of like up over his muzzle and like up the side of his nose. It's really pretty. Like his face was the first one I fell in love with when I met them. I was like, oh my god, he's so handsome.
Oh.
And he's kind of like a himbo cat.
Oh, I love it.
Again, George's behavior.
Yes. I have a theory that his father was an orange cat.
Aw. Thank you, everyone, for the bits. Again, like animals on the stream are the fastest way to make bits on Twitch. I swear. Hey, speaking of TikTok, Sarah. Speaking of TikTok, which TikTok were you aiming for, and which TikTok are you on?
Oh, that's a good question. So I was probably aiming for something like writer talk or book talk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mostly on exvangelical talk.
Ah, okay.
/ deconstruction talk. Yeah.
Deconstruction talk like Shrek or
No, like deconstructing religious trauma.
oh, got it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really fun accounts and stuff like that. They do all these sketches of like the toxic pastor's wife, and you're like, oh my god, I knew that person.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of like, if you want to talk about motifs and tropes, like you can still find all of that on exvangelical TikTok.
And we always do. Last one of these fun questions. And if we've got questions from chat, I know we had one earlier, but please field them. Sarah, your Instagram has kind of functionally become a keto food blog. What is your favorite or substitution to date?
Okay, so let's see. I really like sweet potato noodles if they're cooked correctly.
Sweet potato
Those are
noodles.
really good.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and what do you make? And what are we making with the noodles? Are we making stir fry, or are we making like spaghetti and meatballs?
So there's actually a really a great North African flavored skillet that I like to make. It's got like chicken thigh, tomato, and dates.
Okay.
And a little bit of orange juice in there with cinnamon, and yeah, it goes really well with the sweet potatoes. So I really like that. And then so I don't love cauliflower as much as other people love cauliflower, but it can really like hit the spot if you cook it right.
Oh yeah.
And then I use coconut milk in everything.
Oh, coconut milk's great.
It is so versatile. I'm like, and like I finally understand like how people survived on the Pacific Islands, because coconut is everything.
Sure.
It provides just about every nutritional need you could possibly have.
Oh yeah.
However, I found out this year that I'm allergic to avocado, and I was like cooking with avocado
You
oil
are?
all the time.
Me too.
Oh really? Oh, I don't think I've ever
Yes.
met anyone else.
Oh my God, yeah. Well, and
So-
Kurt Baer.
Oh,
If you know
okay.
Kurt Baer at
Okay.
the Society for Ethnomusicology, Kurt, if you're watching this, come on the show. Clip that. But yeah, Kurt and I bonded over, and we both agree avocados are delicious, just not worth it afterward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also am allergic to garlic, which is extremely inconvenient.
What did you call yourself earlier? Like incredibly Germanic?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, hyper Germanic.
Hyper Germanic. Okay, yeah. The allergy to garlic won't fly on the Mediterranean.
Yeah. No.
But that yeah.
No. I keep joking. I better not marry an Italian because I'd have a bad time.
Yeah, just like you'd have to leave the room whenever anything fries.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But see, it was funny though because I freaking love garlic. Who doesn't?
Yeah, right?
And so if anyone ever said put a teaspoon in, I'd put a tablespoon and a half in.
And then you'd be
Yeah.
sick.
And not know why. I'm actually literally seeing the allergist tomorrow. I was like, I don't think I can live with this allergy. Please help
Oh,
me.
yeah, please. Absolutely.
So yeah, the Instagram is mostly for food stuff if I ever remember.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like, doing gluten-free baking and stuff like that. So there will be Christmas cookies this week and other things like that.
And we've already met the cats, but
Mhm.
we met one of the cats. What more can you say about I mean we are well acquainted with Millie. What more can you say about Milo, who was sleeping downstairs?
Milo is the buddy. He is the goodest boy.
Oh.
He doesn't know how to do anything. He can't do a bad thing in his life. He has no idea. If he ever does anything bad, it's purely on accident.
You are so fortunate because it's always intentional with mine.
And we also have a third cat who is my housemate's cat. And her name is Button, and she's a tuxedo. And she could take over the world if she wanted to. She just is content with what she has.
Oh, good.
She's so my housemate is deaf and wears hearing aids, but not to sleep.
Mhm.
The cat knows the difference between when Cass can't hear her alarm versus when she's ignoring her alarm.
Oh my God.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so,
I'm starting to think humanity's run as the dominant creature on the earth might be over. Listening to that story. I think the cats
It might
if the
be.
cats get organized, we're done.
We're done for. That's for sure. So yeah, they've lived together for about 3 years now, and Button's kind of like the mom friend or the big sister, I guess.
Aww.
It's very you two perturb me, but I also find you adorable. So
Amazing.
yeah.
All right.
So
Sarah, that being said, we've only got one thing left to do in this interview, and this is the part, and this is the part of the night where we play a game.
okay.
Sarah,
Mhm.
question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, have you ever made a tier list before?
Oh no, but I want to.
Oh, well, hey, you're in luck. You're
Connect
in
with
luck.
your
Yes.
Because we're making a tier list with you tonight. Hi, I say
Yay.
this like every week, or at least every week we do a tier list. But tier lists, of course, come from fighting games, where they're a way to rank character choice in video games. However, they've gotten popular, especially on Twitch recently, as a way to rank everyday life. And of course, as a folklorist, I love that. So
we love ranking things.
we love ranking things. We love everyday life.
Oh my god, am I sorting ATU things? It's kind of small.
You might be. You are sorting ATU things. I'll be able to read them.
Ooh.
But so
Very
we have made a bunch of characters from The Witcher, and we tried to do season 1. We tried to not go too far into season 2 or the games because we know you've seen season 1, and you are going to rank The Witcher characters by the ATU that they either represent or subvert. Are you ready for
Okay.
this? Are you ready?
All right, I'll do my best.
Cool. We're gonna S is the highest, S is masterclass, D is barely passing. Okay, so on a
Okay.
scale from S to D, we'd have you rank the tail type, or how the tail type is expressed in each Witcher character. So first off,
Okay.
the eponymous, the self-titled Witcher, we have Geralt as ATU 300. Do you know them off the top of your head, or am
I don't know all of them.
Okay.
300 is Rumpelstiltskin, isn't it?
300 we have as the Dragon Slayer.
The Dragon Slayer. Okay. Yes, I'm not as familiar with that one.
Okay, so I'll name them off when we get to each one. So we've got ATU 300, the Dragon Slayer, for Geralt, our monster hunter for hire. I will remind you that at least the way I play Geralt, he likes to use his words, and B, he literally could not kill the dragon in season 1. But where are you putting our monster hunter
Right.
as a dragon hunter?
I think I will put him in A because he definitely fills the character archetype. That's for sure.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Ciri crying on Geralt's shoulder for ATU 325, which is the magician and his apprentice. So we have Ciri as the magician's apprentice. Where are you putting our lion cub, Princess Cirilla?
Okay, so am I thinking of this as like how much I love Ciri as a character, or how much she fits this trope?
How much? Yeah, how she fits the trope. You can do both, but I'm thinking how she fits the trope.
Okay. So I'm thinking B because I haven't actually seen her like in training yet, really.
You've seen
Like, I
her
know that happens.
at this point, because you haven't seen season 2. You've only seen her do magic on accident.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly.
what
on
level did you say?
On those grounds, I'll put her B.
B.
Is there's the potential there.
Okay.
I haven't seen it as much in action yet.
Cool. We worked very hard to find the right one for Yennefer, but here we have
So
Yennefer.
much time.
Here we have Geralt trying not to make eye contact with Yennefer in the bathtub right before she steals his clothes. So we have Yennefer as 465A. That is Yennefer as the Swan wife.
Oh, that's an S.
That's S.
100%
Okay,
that's
Yennefer,
S.
perfect Swan wife. Any more you can say about that, or about like the tail type in general, or about Yennefer, or what?
Well, so I'm not as familiar with like the actual folk tales around the Swan wife, other than like how she's kind of the kind of mystical wife where you're not totally sure if she's gonna stick around or what she's gonna do to you when she is around.
Yeah.
There's a very like kind of like a trickster sort of figure.
Yes, a trickster that watches you bathe.
Yeah. There's a lot of watching people bathe in that folktale. So yeah, I think in that sense, that's definitely an S because you never really know what the Swan wife is gonna do, and you never really know what Yennefer is gonna do either.
Also, Caitlin and I, when we realized this, we like freaked out. Yennefer wears black feathers on like half of her outfits. So
A lot of feathers.
this might be intentional. We don't know.
And if it's not feathers, it's fur.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Queen Calanthe as ATU 519, which is the warrior woman.
Oh, I feel like that's also an S.
That's an S. Now, is that an S above Yennefer or an S below Yennefer?
I will say below.
Okay, but she's
you know,
great. She the
fairly
actress
logical
nails
footing
it.
there. Oh yeah.
And I also
like I was compelled every time I saw her on screen.
and I want to go off. I'm going to go off in in support of the season 1 timelines. But in the first episode when she tells Ciri, well, I won my first battle at the Hulkfort when I was your age. And then in the Geralt and Renfri story, when Renfri goes, I mean, Queen Calanthe, she just won her first battle at the Hulkfort. And that being your first hint at the timelines, I think is just chef's kiss.
And I completely missed it the first time around. Like it took me a couple episodes to really get a hold of the timeline thing. So I'll have to like pay extra close attention on my rewatch.
Yeah.
I watch season 2.
Let's do it. Speaking of Renfri, we have Renfri, aka the Black Sun, as ATU 709. That would be not the not quite Black and Sun, but Snow White. How do you feel about
Yeah.
Renfrey, who Geralt butchered at Blaviken, as Snow White?
Okay, I'm a little foggy on that particular, like, oh, was she like the monster, like the woman in the first couple of episodes?
She's the woman in the
Like,
first
kind
woman
of-
in the first episode that Stregobor the mage hires him to kill because she may
Yeah.
possibly fulfill the
Oh, right.
fulfill the Black
Mhm.
Sun. What are some other Snow White things that happened to her? She was found by a company of dwarves. She's got 7 bodyguards. A woodsman tried to
Okay,
kill her
that's-
and couldn't actually kill her. Yeah,
Okay, I would say that's an A.
that's an A. Is
Really
it
solid A.
is that an A under our Saint George Geralt here or what?
Actually, I would put that above.
Yeah,
That's
yeah. And you're speaking my
Yes.
language. I went off on this on book club last week, but that it is Renfrey is my favorite example of a like grimdark fairy tale retelling because
Yeah.
all of that like all the ATU similarities are there to get you to pay attention to like the morality of Snow White, not about like, oh, isn't this dark, you know? I could go off about the
Yeah.
lesser evil. It's like the best Witcher short story. I could go off forever. Anyway, we've got to keep going with the tier list. We have
Yeah.
King oh god, I am so embarrassed that I am blanking out. Philavandrel of the Elves as ATU 777. That being said, the Elves are an ancient ethnic group on the continent. All the magic and scriptures written in their language, but they get pogromed all the time by the humans. And he is the king who is cursed to walk the earth forever. How do you see Philavandrel as ATU 777, the Wandering Jew?
Oh, right. That might go with an A. I
I
think that fits really well there.
Yeah. Now is it, and and being that he's Andrei Sapkowski is Polish and very socially justice minded. This is one of like the best allegories in the series. Now, where does this go? Is this
Yeah.
between?
I think it's between.
Between. Oh, look at that!
Yeah.
Sarah really said she's on the side of the elves in this conflict. All right. Next up, we've got the father of the Striga. We have King Foltest as ATU 510B, aka Donkey Skin. So how is he as the king from Donkey Skin?
Oh my god, that's an S.
That's at oh. All right, that's S. Now where we've got Swan Wife, we've got a Warrior Queen, and where are we putting Foltest as the king in Donkey Skin?
Ooh, that's really hard. I think it'll go below Calanthe
Okay,
just because
got it.
like there's enough difference from the story where you're not like, oh, that's that's immediately recognizable as a story, but there's enough of similar tropes. So like, yeah. It belongs in S, but I'll keep it like below Calanthe.
Sure. You gotta respect Calanthe, or you may die.
Exactly.
So this next one, we worked very hard to try to figure out, like, we poured over the like all the ATUs to find the one that best fit for Yaskir, aka Dandelion, for the book readers out there. But we have settled on 871A, which is the adulterous queen and her loathsome paramour. How are we doing Yaskir as the loathsome paramour?
I think I'll put him at a B.
Now is that he's way too likable.
Yeah.
The show doesn't make
I
him
don't
hardly
see him
loathsome enough.
Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
is that
So,
low
like,
B or high B?
I'll say a high B.
Okay. The Lion Cub has not come into her own yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Next up though, we've got Urchion of Erlenwald, aka Dooney, as ATU
the
441.
hedgehog,
Hans
the
my
hedgehog.
Hedgehog. Oh, you already knew where we were going with this.
That's an A.
That's an
I
A.
think it would be
Mm-hmm.
below Yennefer.
Oh yeah, Yen's an S. Is it below Yen or below Renfrey?
Oh yes, sorry, yes, an S.
Okay.
That's where I wanted. An
Okay,
S.
so we got okay, good. Oh, you wanted an
No,
S.
yeah, no,
S. Okay, so earlier you could not bear put Foltest over Calanthe, which again for political reasons probably good. But I noticed you were putting Dooney over Calanthe, and what is it that gives Dooney the edge here?
Because this is the one episode in the show where it was very explicitly like, oh, this is a retelling of this story. Like I can very clearly see the parallels here. So like just for like because it's so direct, like this is a Hans the Hedgehog story, and also Hans the Hedgehog severely underrated. Yeah, that's why I would put him above Calanthe, just for like directness.
Sure. I'm frustrated that you haven't seen season 2 at this point, because the other one that is clearly like just laser pointed a specific ATU is in season 2, and it is ATU 425C, where Novellin does Beauty and the Beast. I don't think you haven't seen it yet.
I can't wait.
Okay. Well, the season
spoilers,
starts. The season starts with Beauty and the Beast, with Geralt's old friend Novellin, who lives in a haunted castle, or lives in an enchanted castle, and is turned into a beast and has big old tusks that make it hard for him to
I'm like
talk.
bouncing in my seat right now.
I'm gonna watch that after.
I'm here.
And
no, that's also dissertation data. Woo!
there we go. Yeah. You've got dissertation. You've got the episode and also the short story it's based off of the same name, which is A Grain of Truth.
Perfect. Ooh, all right.
And the last one, this is really for Caitlin, ATU 531, The Clever Horse, and that's Roach.
Oh, we'll go with a B above Siri.
Okay. And for everyone who thinks she's underrating Siri, she hasn't got to season 2. I haven't gotten to season 2.
I have full faith in Siri.
And you've seen grown up Siri. Right, you saw grown up Siri tonight in the gameplay, so you see where it's leading.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there one that we missed on the bottom there?
Just Novellin.
Oh, that's Novellin. Okay.
Yeah. That's Novellin as Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, because I haven't seen it.
Yep.
All right. So I also have faith, but I will withhold judgment for the sake of fairness.
This could be the most top-heavy tier list we've ever had. James Dalton Bell points out you've got 4 at S, but I really think that's not. If it's anyone's fault, it's Andrei Sapkowski. But we have our official Sarah Lawson Witcher ATU tier list, all the way from Swan Wife Yennefer in S to Still the Apprentice, on her way, Siri. And I guess I will sum this up by saying this list, much like Siri, this list has potential.
Yes, exactly.
So, that I think we've done it. I think we've done the tier list, and I think all that's left is we got to get back into the Bloody Baron.
Nice.
So give me a quick second to just pull this off. Oh, and also, for the last hour, can we get Caitlin? Sarah, do you mind if we get Caitlin's face back on the screen for the last hour?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Everybody. So that being said, everybody, I'll go back to on the call. But everyone in chat, GG's to Sarah for a great interview. Ladders, if you got them, for Sarah. Make her feel welcome around here. She's doing the full 4. She's in the 4-hour club, which is a way to get respect in my book. But yeah, drop those ladders, drop those emotes for Sarah. GG's to Sarah, chat says, and thank you so much for coming on the show and for. I will say, Caitlin and I put together this tier list today. We had so much fun making it.
I'm glad.
Got into like legit arguments about Jaskier.
Oh my god, and Yennefer.
Yeah, and Jennifer, like they were the hardest ones for us to like pinpoint. It
I
took
was
us
I was sitting there with the
forever.
old Thompson index, and I was like, okay, there
Yep.
is woman falls in love when she sees a man bathing. What's the ATU equivalent for that? Because that's what she is, but we can't say T16 because that's like the outdated
Yeah,
numbering
Jennifer-
system. Ugh.